Last night, the new Nissan Leaf was revealed in Japan, and I'm going to give you guys actually a first-hand experience review when I'm going to get my hands on one in about 2 weeks when they come here on a tour. Yes, they're, bringing this car like a rock star to America to go on tour. This is going to be in California in a couple of weeks, so I'm just going to give you a more detailed walkthrough, and it looks like I'm going to get to drive it myself. So stay tuned for that, and that's why it's important to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you don't miss that when I upload that video. But for now, I'm just going to give you my impressions based on what I've heard last night and some of the media kits that came out. Because this is a big deal, and some people ask me, why do you feature other cars on the channel that's really dedicated to Tesla? Because I think this is important. This is still a pretty small community, and it's a small movement of electric cars. And Nissan Leaf has been there for a while, and I think it's interesting to see what other technologies are out there on the market, because essentially they're going to push Tesla forward by presenting and trying to compete with their cars. Now, first, let me give the credit where the credit is due, because Nissan came up with this car before pretty much everybody else had the mass production electric car in 2010. They didn't really have to do it. There weren't really laws that required manufacturers to do it, or certain units that need to be produced. They kind of took a chance on it, and I have to give them big kudos for that, because pioneering almost anything is difficult, especially for a big company who didn't have to do it. Now, if you haven't seen the very first Leaf commercial, I'm going to put it in the description of this video. I think it's pretty cool. I actually really like it, with a polar bear and the car. So I loved everything about it when it came out. But so I'm going to give them credit. Absolutely, they've been around for a while, and some people might argue that they might be the reception of Tesla might have not been as good if we all weren't already familiar in some ways with electric cars like Nissan Leaf. I can also argue that Nissan Leaf might have not survived if it wasn't for Tesla basically getting this, taking this entire movement and putting it on their shoulders and giving it a really new life. But that's a discussion for a different time. Now, just like I said, they've pioneered in 2010. It is the best-selling electric car ever. They sold over 300,000 units across the globe. So that's really good. Now, it's no secret what I think of the previous version of the Leaf. I thought that they've done a disservice to this movement, because the range wasn't very good. It's not practical. It's 80 miles, with different temperatures and different driving habits, even less than that. So it's not practical. And my biggest problem with it, of course, was that it was extremely fugly, because I don't know anybody who thought of this car was a good-looking car, but I know quite a few people, including myself, that just wouldn't be caught dead in one just because of the way it looks, which is, again, for my taste, and this is just a matter of an opinion, it's not a car that I would ever want to see in my driveway. So, and that's been a problem for me for most cars, and this is why I'm so critical of Chevy Bolt, because that's not a good looking car, and most other cars that are electric don't have a good range and are not very good looking. So I have to say that I've never been a fan. Until last night, I have to say that the new look is actually pretty appealing. I'm going to go with appealing. Yeah, it's not a gorgeous car, but for its class, it's pretty good looking. So kudos for them for getting the whole refresh done and making this car look like a normal car. Secondly, the range has gotten improved to 150 miles. A little disappointing. I thought, if you're going to do a refresh after 7 years, it should be around 200 miles. I think that's a comfort zone for a lot of people. But, 150 miles, I would say it's barely acceptable for, especially, there's plenty of people who will find this enough for their daily commute. So I'll give them that. It looks like they're going to come up with a longer range next year. People are expecting it to be closer to 200, if not more than that. So, we'll see if that actually happens. So I'm going to give them a barely passing grade on range, but it is definitely one of the longest one right now in the market. So kudos for that as well. Now, the price is going to start at $30,000. With incentives, Nissan, I believe, is only halfway through their federal credit federal rebate credits because I think they sold a little bit around 100,000 here in the US. And Tesla is obviously almost at their limit. So they're still going to enjoy their $7,500 rebate and of plus the whatever states have to offer. So they're going to be able to compete on price. And of course, Nissan does offer discounts. So the price is probably going to come up to something very affordable for most people. So the price is all right with me. Now, ProPilot. Now they've been kind of, most of their teasers have revolved around the ProPilot feature. And now that they revealed it, I have to say that I'm not that impressed. It's there. It has a feature where, it will keep the car in one lane and the distance between the cars ahead of them. So it's kind of autopilot in one lane, and it will park itself. So again, these are good features. It's a good start. It's just nothing impressive. And let's not forget that, the self-parking feature was pioneered before Tesla, way before Tesla. I had it in my Lexus about almost 10 years ago. So, but again, they got it done and it's there. And so that's good. But nothing else. That's pretty much all they got. Now, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is in there. And I think this is something that Tesla owners have been missing as far as integration of the phone with the whole system. And I'm hoping it's going to, be coming up in one of the updates soon. And that's the good thing about Tesla, right? Because we can get it overnight and it's there. So that's a positive thing. The charge port is still on the front of the car. Now, I know a lot of people have a problem with it. I don't. As a matter of fact, I think it's just fine that people go, regularly in their charging spot, kind of head first. And as a matter of fact, if I've seen enough here, Nissan Leaf drivers, I think they would have a tough time backing the car in. Just my personal experience watching them park. So I don't have a problem with that. It's there and it's there now with a new model. I'm all right. So now one thing that is kind of weird. Now they had this, when you had a upgraded sound, they had this Bose amplifier kind of bolted down to the floor of the trunk. And it was kind of getting on the way. A lot of people were just saying it was gathering dirt and it was just kind of tough to put stuff in there and navigate around it. And they kept it. It's still there. After all this time, they didn't remove it. They're just kind of awkwardly there, bolted down from what I've seen. So that was a little weird, I have to say. So I'm not really sure what they were thinking about that. Now, interior is okay with me. I have to say nothing amazing about it. It got a little update and upgrade and, looks fine. I don't have any complaints, nothing amazing. But again, very much acceptable for its class. Lastly, I have to say, when the Nissan's, I believe, CEO was doing a presentation last night, he ended up calling Tesla out, claiming that they have advantages that Tesla doesn't have. And then he went on talking about how they just sold more cars than anybody else, over 300,000. And I wasn't really quite understanding what the point of it was. I'm not really sure how that makes a car better or your experience better. Especially that, Tesla sold a pretty good number in comparison to them as well. And probably will pass them very soon, especially in the US. So I wasn't really sure. If you're going to call Tesla out, you better have something really up your sleeve. And I thought he kind of fell short. He worked the name Tesla into his presentation, but I think that was a mistake. As a matter of fact, I think it's a mistake for any electric car to sort of try to, win the market share with other electric cars. I think the better victim, if it would be the gas cars, because that's still a majority of the market. That's where you should be trying to get your customers from. So, try to go after, Toyota Prius. That's not a fully electric car. You can get that market share. You can even go after some of the other cars that are small, compact gas cars that you could definitely win and convince those people to switch. But going after Tesla, I'm not sure. Or going after any electric car, I'm just not really sure if it's a good strategy for anybody at this point. So those are my first impressions. If I missed anything, please go ahead and put it in the comment section. I would be more than happy to kind of research it more before I do my test drive in a couple of weeks. If you want me to be paying attention to something in particular, also let me know. I'll be happy to answer questions there and I'll try to get as much footage as possible. Other than that, I'll see you next time and remember to stay charged.